Welcome to School of PE podcast. I'm your host, Chris Miller, and I'm so glad that you could join me this week. We are going to discuss topics about FE, PE, and SC, and we're also going to answer questions that will help students prepare for their exams. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the SOPE Weekly Podcast. I'm Chris Miller. We got a returning guest today, Mr. Charles Hubbard. So welcome back, Charles. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Thanks a lot. I'm great. Happy to be back.
All right, well, hey, we got an interesting topic today. Learning is, I guess, ongoing for everybody. So today we're going to talk about professional growth for engineers, how to achieve and accelerate. So let's start off with the simple question. I guess the obvious answer of this question, why would engineers want to continue their education? I guess the simple or obvious answer is, well, they got to maintain their certification. So they got to get X number of PDHs either annually, biannually, depending on their state. But why else would engineers want to continue their education, Charles?
Well, there is that. Also, if you're an ambitious engineer, you want to be working on more complex projects and more challenging things as you advance in your career, and that requires more knowledge. You don't learn it all in school, and not only that, but things change. Regulations change. The state of the practice changes. Standard of care. All of those things keep evolving, and it's a lot to keep up with.
No, that makes sense. So, what are some of the, I guess, things that engineers might learn as they pursue their continuing education?
Well, the obvious one is, for me, I'm a geotechnical engineer, so I'm going to learn more geotechnical things, and that's great. But I think what's really important is realizing that you need to learn, let's call it more pertinent skills and trade secrets and things like that. It's a lot of how good we are really relates to what we can perceive outside of our wheelhouse and how we integrate to those things. And so the more you can understand how other people do their thing and how it affects what you do, the more complete of an engineer you are.
That makes sense. So, you kind of touched on, yes, continuing ed will help you keep up or learn about new codes and standards, regulations. But what about any possibility of learning about new tools or different tools that'll help you either continue to do your job or maybe find ways to do your job differently?
Yeah, great. And part of that's with your choices of continuing education. For example, I stepped away from my dam inspection conference. That's 3 days, but I enrolled in this one because it's focusing on a lot of items that aren't something that I'm currently an expert at or is in my discipline. Structural components, civil components of dams, not just the earth stuff. And so, again, for me to be a better dam engineer, then I need to be, current with those things and better understand things that I normally wouldn't look for, during the course of my projects.
That makes sense. So, when it comes to learning or studying, whether it's for an exam or whether you're just studying, maybe you're taking a college course or you're looking for personal or continuing education, strategy sometimes is just important as the process. So, what are some learning strategies that work best to achieve success?
Well, I think everybody's a little different. Some people, people that are younger than I am, typically are more inclined to enjoy or take advantage of online, training. They can do it independently. They can do it on demand, kind of like, some of the core stuff that you have. I like being somewhere in person. I like to interact. I like to be able to ask questions. I like to participate in activities, practice something, so, simply watching and listening, might be okay, but I think, finding opportunities to participate and practice, an activity or skill, having somebody who does software training come to your organization, or you go there to actually, learn how to use the software, and versus watching something online, or being out in the field to participate in an inspection course or something like that. The actual practice of it is crucial to going away and then understanding, maybe what you've learned, what you still need to work on, and where to improve.
No, I agree. I mean, I think, learning strategies, as you mentioned, are dependent on the person. They vary, right? Everyone kind of learns differently in their own way. And you're right, stick with the strategy that works best for you. If you're somebody that needs that face-to-face or, same environment type of a learning atmosphere, then maybe a self-study is not the way to go for you, or maybe online's not the way to go for you. So pick what, suits you best is a good thought. So with continued education, outside of maintaining your license or keeping up with codes and regulations, there's potential to move up, right? Like if you learn new skills or learn different things, you might be able to move up within your company or in your field. So what are some positions that engineers can fill as they gain more education and experience?
Well, I think you typically progress from a licensure standpoint. You might start out as a technician or a junior engineer. I'm assuming most graduates from a PE program, civil program at a university will take their EIT and become an engineer in training, right off the bat or pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, if you take that, fundamentals exam, you are on the track, to mm-hmm. become a PE. So that's your goal. And every firm's different, but they'll usually have a hierarchy in terms of whether you're, staff engineer, project engineer, senior engineer, those things, and which ones, are EIT based, staff and project, maybe project senior and principal and above, those are going to be PE, mm-hmm. Related titles. But and again, everyone's different, but there's a number of paths, and as a professional engineer, your main goal would be function independently without supervision and be able to sign and make recommendations and those kinds of things. You can do that at a lot of those levels. Some people are content or take a bit of time to advance into a position where they're not just doing technical work. Mm-hmm. Maybe they want to supervise or they want to manage an operation. Those become a little more personnel and business related things. At our company, we have a senior engineer designation, which focuses on the technical and professional, not necessarily operations business. And when I say professional, I mean, standard of care, safeguarding life, health, and property, public welfare, risk management, those things. They're not like how to do a calculation for bearing capacity, but they're practicing our engineering responsibly. And so as a senior engineer, if you desire to function in that capacity, then you're looking to be, a reviewer, a mentor, sort of a guardian of your profession, right? And that's a great goal. That's not business related or focused on marketing or operations. And so that would be something where something to aspire to, I guess. And so to find somebody that can help you be there, to want to be somebody to help somebody else get there, that's a good thing from that technical professional basis, I guess.
I appreciate you sharing that. So, we kind of talked about the why people want to do professional growth and continuing education. We kind of talked about the what. So now let's kind of get to the how. So how should individuals organize their time to kind of best fit their educational opportunities into their busy schedules?
You need to make the time. It's largely it's up to you, and I think supervisors, employers, mentors and stuff. One thing you always appreciate in leadership is seeing initiative and independent, pursuit of excellence by those that are striving to grow. Mm-hmm. And, you don't wait around and have somebody tell you, well, I think you've been pretty good at this. This sounds like something you could keep going on. If you don't think about and, look to push yourself in different directions, you're not going to go anywhere. And others are going to think you're satisfied, doing the smaller things that you're doing. And not only that, you'll stagnate and not understand how, learning new things can move you along. So having a goal in the first place is to understanding where you want to go and how you want your position to grow within your company. Do you want to be a supervisor? Do you want to run operations? There's a lot of people that grow away from the technical stuff and they want to manage the business and the people, and that's great. We need all of that. I pursued a technical role in my growth to become a principal engineer, where I can be an internal technical leader. But at the same time, then I also have to understand, learn, practice well my accountabilities for proper mentorship and proper supervision and review technically of the things that people do. So, having an idea where you want to go, letting people know that's where you want to go, and having a plan, and then documenting, have a book of work. These are the projects I've been working on. I've been keeping track of them. I've made notes about compliments or suggestions I got from people. I've tracked my growth, and I'm aware of what I'm doing, and here it is. We've gotten a lot of people in the past that have approach leadership and say, well, I'm qualified to be a senior engineer, so can I be one? Well, no, we don't really know much about what you're up to, and so then you got to start this process, kind of go backwards and figure things out. So, being out there and promoting yourself, and then backing it up,
Yeah, if you walk, what is it? If you walk the walk, you got to talk the talk, or something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I might have butchered that, but I get what you mean. So this next question, I guess kind of applies to just anything, not just engineering in its own. But each week I get to talk to engineers during these podcasts, and one of the common themes that always come up is mentors, and they always stress the importance of it. So how important is it to have an engineering mentor or relationship with an established engineer to help, with the guidance to kind of help you along your path?
It's huge. Everybody needs one or two or three. It's great when they can be somebody that kind of does the same things that you do. You get along with them. They can be a friend of yours. All those things, they can become a confidant too about for concerns you have about how well can I do something, or what am I doing, right and wrong, and things like that. Things that might feel a little more vulnerable. So if you can find somebody that's kind of is there to confide in, provide some good advice casually or more thoroughly during the course of project reviews, grab onto that person, and also don't wait again, for somebody to say, hey, do you need a mentor? Go get one. I mean, again, the more aggressive you are about what you want, where you want to go, the more people are going to realize this guy wants to learn. She's willing to work really hard. All of those things, and that's the kind of person you want out there. But it's tough for the person that needs the mentor. Again, it's carving out time. It's you got to get out there, and you gotta bug somebody, to be your mentor. It's up to you to start that conversation. Also, if you have somebody that you're interested in having mentor you, if that person can't be there consistently, then get somebody else. It's tough to be a mentor too, and be a good one, because you need to be, you're on call, and you have to be there to help a person who's going to be in situations that they need an answer now versus tomorrow, or something like that. They got to feel supported, and you got to move them on, and you can't do it like with a paper napkin recommendation or something. It's got to be, the right answer. So, but I've needed mentors, and sometimes you have to find multiple ones simply because you get involved in projects where the one doesn't work. Just for example, in the dam inspection seminar that I'm in, there was an engineer that was involved in a dam failure, and he says he has several quotes. He felt really horrible about it because it wasn't necessarily something that he did or didn't do, but this relationship between engineer and client, and the client wants this, and so doing the right thing matters, especially if it results in a dam failure, right? And the guy ended up saying that to the young engineer who is called upon to design an important structure, the safety or sufficiency of which he is not entirely satisfied with, I would strongly urge the wisdom of calling to his help the advice of an older engineer skilled in that particular line. And then he goes on to say, never sacrifice cost, no matter how urgent your client may become. He does not realize the danger, and you should. And so, anyway, it was a good quote, simply because a lot of times we think that if we can learn the technical things, and that's really cool, I'm good at what I do. But when you're progressing in your career, you shift from a good understanding of technical things to more of a risk management. What is that danger? How do I educate clients? How do I do the right thing and not compromise my profession? For public safety, because my projects get more complex over time like that, right?
No, those are wise words there, Charles, and I agree. Sometimes you have maybe the younger, maybe not just an engineer, but just someone in any field, right? They either think they know it all, or they think they've seen it all. But the odds are they probably don't know it all and they haven't seen it all. So it'd be nice to get someone that's a little more experienced to kind of help groom you or help along the journey. But also sometimes getting mentors is difficult, not because you don't want one, but maybe you don't know how to ask for one, or maybe you're too afraid to ask. So, what can, so let's say I come to you, Charles, and I say, hey, I know I need a mentor. I want one, but I just don't know how to go about asking or getting one. What kind of advice could you give?
Well, I'd say I'll help you out. if they had the courage to come to me, that'd be great. But you're exactly right. It isn't an easy thing to figure out. Other situations occur where, the employer you have doesn't provide good support that way. It happens, that people are really busy and you focus on doing your work and you don't spend enough time. Somebody reviews your reports, but they don't sit down and talk about that with you and help you learn. I mean, that's mentorship. So again, it's important to speak up. It should help, impress people that's you want to be the best professional you can. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to go as high up as you want. I have everybody at Braun Intertech has an open door to our CEO if they want. And I've been in there a few times, and it's okay. I feel all right about it. I can feel safe about it, and I can talk about the things that I want to talk about. So don't be shy that way. And if you're not, either humble enough and courageous enough to admit that you need to know something, or that you should have a mentor, then that might be a sign that you're possibly could get yourself into trouble later on, because you won't back out of something of a corner on a project. So that you have to be able to do that, especially internally where it's safe to do that, so that you can also do it in the field.
No, yeah, absolutely. And, you're right. Don't be shy, speak up, right? When it comes to continuing education, or maybe you want to get your master's or your PhD, there's obstacles. A lot of it is time, but as you mentioned earlier, you just got to find the time to do this continuing education. But also sometimes the obstacles cost, right? Incurring the cost of whether it's sign up for a degree program or sign up for continuing education or personal development. So in your experience, have you found that that majority of companies will pay for an employee's continuing ed, or have you found that, you're on your own?
Hard to answer that one. Since I've been, things have changed at my company, and I'm in my 34th year, so I haven't been to many places. I've been a couple other places, the small shops, probably not. We used to provide some tuition assistance, and I think we had and again, the complexion changes as your company changes. But we've had programs like interest-free loans or some kind of reimbursement. But I don't believe we have a program currently for that. So I think some people seem to be involved in those degree programs. Right out of school, they just keep going right in school, right. and they're using their internships and stuff like that to help finance that, or getting loans. Some people might work as a co-op or a technician for a few years and save up and kind of go after that. So I don't have, an advanced degree, so I haven't invested in that, myself.
No.
But yeah, I think that's definitely a challenge. I don't have a lot of good direction for that one.
No, I appreciate you. You navigated those waters pretty well. So when people think of personal growth or continuing education, sometimes they only see it from their perspective, right? But if, let's say I'm working for you, Charles, and I say, hey, I'm going to take these, I'm going to do that damn course or webinar that you're in. So yeah, I'm going to benefit because I'm going to gain some knowledge and some insight. But how can you see employers benefiting from employees taking continuation education or personal or professional development?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously we have to take some, and so it's important. In this case, this was one of those for myself where it's like, okay, this course costs a chunk of money, and so I'm obligated, even to, no matter how senior I am in the company, to ask permission to take the course, and they paid for it. So companies do have at least either they will approve payment for the continuing education, which is great. Some companies do have sort of a stipend, a yearly amount that they afford you. You pick and choose. But I think the thing is, these sorts of things need to align with what your goals are, what your skills are, and what you currently do. And so there needs to be kind of a best fit. And so we often also choose to send a person to some conference so that we get the right person there who can then come back and share and teach themselves. So so that's important. And all of a sudden I'm just forgetting what the question was.
So from the employer's side, how do they benefit?
The benefits obviously. It's nice it's not always something you put on, you don't have a bunch of conferences on your resume, right? But it's going to be evident when you write a report. It's going to be evident when you talk to a client, when when you're out on the project and talking to other people on the project team, what you're talking about. You've seen it. One of the examples today in the session was somebody from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission showed up at a project that was going to be inspected by an independent consultant. And when the consultant indicated that they had not reviewed the original plans and operations manual and things like that for the project, the FERC inspector said, "We're done. Call me when you're ready." So those are the kinds of things where, the things you're learning and practicing, those become part of your actions and language and things like that as you go through your projects. And that's where the benefit is. Mm-hmm. I was interrogated on a project that I went to to another state where I was going to assist in evaluating the impact of putting a utility over a dam or something. And so I was kind of getting grilled a little bit, partly about my technical background and a little bit about where I came from and all that stuff. But then, somebody said, "Yeah, we got the right guy." And so I was like, "Well, I'm glad you think so," because that's what I'm hoping. And the other thing is that if you know your stuff, mm-hmm. and if you represent yourself with your profession in mind, then you will also be better respected than if you show up and say, "I can do this stuff, and whatever you want, I'll give it to you." Because there's that. There is the balance of you're being hired to perform a service or provide a service or consult, ideally, and you're the expert. And so you're obligated to know your business, and the better you do know it, the more you can influence the person paying you to, both provide adequate compensation, but more importantly, allow you to do the right thing, by that project. So that's a lot of the benefit.
It's a heck of an answer. I appreciate that, Charles. So I know we're getting towards the end of the podcast. I know you got a damn conference to get back to. So, I appreciate you coming back for another episode. I'd love to have you back. It's always interesting to chat with you and see what's new out there. So for everyone else out there, have a great week. Charles, thank you so much for coming back for another episode with me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It went so fast. I wish we could stay on longer.
Oh, me too. I'll talk to you soon, Charles.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.